Hey, how are you doing? And hope you're having a great day today. And a very, very sunny day. Lots of vitamin D for everybody around here, all the way up north. And it's actually been warm the last couple of days as well. So even during the week when it was really sunny, it was freezing. But yeah, been nice couple of days over the Saturday and today Sunday. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to make two videos of this. This one obviously is going out on YouTube, going to show people what's going on, but the next one that I'm going to do, I'm going to actually have slides on and examples of what I'm talking about. Obviously that's going to go into the private group. That's why, I have to split it, because I can't show what these people are working on in the private group just to everybody, because it's what they're actually got involved in the private group for, so that they can actually learn and benefit from the information, the knowledge share, and they're going to be using these in live cases. Like we've showed you quite a few of the results that we've been getting. The cases are getting knocked back. They're having business decisions that they're actually cancelling the debt out instead of going into court. Some of them, and other ones have received the 5,205 and damages compensation from the breach of GDPR data. Now, the thing is, though, what you have to do is you have to be so focused, laser focused and specific on what you're actually doing when you are filing your SERs. Right now, you can get them. It tells you exactly how to do this on the GDPR websites. You can download them. And if you mix that, and again, see, I mean, you've got like nonsense people saying you can't use the NSCR, and it's the mine and everything. Like, download it like from the actual GDPR websites. They'll tell you exactly what you can do, and it all happens under Article 15. Right, GDPR, where you're allowed to ask your data for your data. Now, this is very important when I'm saying this, because GDPR is very clear and it's very specific, and it says you are allowed to ask for all data that is being processed by any corporation. Now, obviously, today what I'm talking about is debt, but you can do it for basically anything. But this is and I'm talking about unsecured consumer debt. So it's like credit cards and bank loans and stuff like that that's gone into default, and they've actually then allegedly sold the debt on to a debt collector. Now, there's two different versions, like of a debt collector, if you want to call it that deal with this type of debt, consumer credit debt. So we're not talking about utility bills, different, and the legislation is different on these different examples. So you've got to be careful. You can't. It's not just one like one size fits all. You have to edit for different versions of different types of debt. But in consumer debt, right? So you're talking about, like you say, the credit cards. I might be laboring the point, but the amount of times that I get this and they come up and say, "Oh, well, I'm using that on such and such a traffic fine." No, it's different. Right? Everything is different and has to be used specifically. So we're talking about GDPR. Now, it's your data that they are breaching, right? For various different reasons. Now, this has been well explained in my private group, and we've went over it, going over and over and over the statute. But on the defenses, right, the debt collectors are not going to lie down and go, "Oh, sorry, we made a mistake, we'll run away." You have to be forced into a position, into a corner, where they have no choice but to either, like I've just told you, they're going to do one, or we're making a business decision and we're closing down the account, right? Because they don't want to go into court. Or right, the on the defense that we did the video with Richie last year, and we were defending against the CCJ. And the judge told them you have to supply the documents, which is the legally executed deed of assignment. For this case to move forward. They can't do it, right? So then they just don't turn up at court. They don't pay the fees. So that's the next one that can happen, right? Or, right, they can file the actual defense, which is what we're going to talk about, and they try and move the case from here over to here. What do I mean by that? Well, we're starting off on this side. We're here and we're talking about our data, GDPR. Now, they're allowed we're allowed to ask for all of our data. It's very specific. It doesn't say anywhere on GDPR, it says we are allowed all data that concerns our actual, well, whatever our details are processing. If it's a debt, then everything to do with that debt. Okay, it doesn't say only things that have got your name and address on, your personal details on. It doesn't say that anywhere. It says all data, and it means pertaining to. It means that is associated with. So it isn't just, you know, oh, well, here's your actual statement of account. Here's, like, you know, where you signed the document, blah, blah, blah. All right. It isn't just that. It's absolutely everything. Now, the thing is, right, when you're doing any this type of thing and you're putting it in for GDPR, you have to be looking at things like what they call the LIA, the legitimate interest assessment. They'll always be claiming that they have a legitimate interest. So they should be proving that. Then what is the legitimate interest? Then that means you must have done a legitimate interest assessment. That is what it is called. And if you've done an assessment which comes from the data processing impact assessment. Sometimes I say data protection, but it's actually data processing impact assessment, right? They should have done one of them as well, right? Because any financial side, which this is because it's debt, is a high risk situation. It's a high risk data. That's just the name they give it, but you can see why they'd give it that, because it's involving somebody's financial details. So what the debt collectors try and do is they try and move it away from the breaches that they've actually made and start talking about different statutes or different regulations. Or, well, what they do is they move it over and say, well, under the Law of Property Act, 1925, Section 136, it doesn't say that we have to give you, right, the legally executed deed of assignment. It doesn't actually say anything like that at all. And it doesn't, they're correct. But we're not asking for them to abide by the Law of Property Act 1925, Section 136. That's not what we have done. And that's not what we are filing for. We are filing very specifically, laser focused on GDPR and DPA 2018. So we are allowed to ask for all data concerning that debt. In this case, it's that debt, which means everything. So it's not just like your account documents to show how long you've had it, what you've paid, you know, and whatever. They need to show you everything. And it's very clear, it's very specific. You can go and research this yourself. Just go and put it in any search engine. Use ChatGPT. You can actually create your own SAR, subject access request, or DSAR, data subject access request. People call it different things, but it means the same thing. You're asking for all your data. If you actually put that into ChatGPT and say, look, here, you know, create an SER for it and ask for all my data, it'll give you a usable one, you know, and it won't be bad. I'm not saying it will be as laser focused as what we have created for our private group. And when I'm talking about the private group, if you want to have a look at it, then go into the description, and there'll be a link there to go and have a look at the private group, and you can get involved in that as well. It is full of classrooms, they call them, where there is lots of knowledge share. It also has its own, like, it's kind of like a social media side, but it's all private. It's not like Facebook, and the only fact checkers are us in there. It's not, you know, as open and ridiculous as what you get in the normal social media world. It's all private, and everybody's talking and doing the same types of thing, talking about the same stuff, and everyone's trying to get the same results, learning all about their rights and how to actually enforce them. So what we have to do is, if you've done it right, and I'm not talking about the, you know, the 3-letter process, and, you know, we ask people, well, how many letters have you done in that 3-letter process? And they're like, you know, oh, I don't know, 19. You know, it's not working. And we don't want to be playing tennis with these people for the rest of our lives, you know, batting that ball backwards and forwards. Who wants to be doing that forever? You need to finish it. You need to stop it. And the only way to do it is to put them into a corner because of the breaches that they're actually making. So you have got the power to do that if you laser focus on GDPR. And if you do it correctly, you actually put the claim in against them for the correct parts, the correct articles of GDPR. You can't do the wrong ones. But then when they try and move it from there, they say, oh, well, under FCA guidance, you know, we don't have to give you any data. We're not talking about that. We've specifically showed them a breach of data on GDPR and DPA 2018. Now, we've got a case ongoing. We've had a lot of successes over the last few weeks with just people coming that are joining the group, and they're getting success after success after success. So this is a live case that we're actually talking about now, and I've created all of these new documents and rebuttals to these DCAs, debt collector agencies, defenses that they're putting in. They're asking for it to be struck out because, you know, we haven't done anything wrong under Law of Property Act 1925. You know, that's just the same as when they put, if you've gone and like broke into a house and you're getting like, you know, prosecuted for a burglary, and you say, but I didn't murder anyone. Right, but it's got nothing to do with that. It's, you're up there for breaking an entry or burglary or whatever the actual name would be. It's not for murder, so you can't deny murder when you're getting charged with something else. And this is the same thing. They're getting, let's call it a charge. You know what we mean? We are claiming against them, right? Telling them that they've actually breached our data because they haven't supplied a compliant response to our SCRs. Right, so we've asked for specific things, being the deed of assignment, which has you. I mean, in reality, what they're saying, and these are the typical excuses you'll get, like in from debt collectors, that your data isn't on a deed of assignment. Really? So you're saying you've allegedly purchased my debt, right, from the bank, my bank, and what you're telling me that although it's my debt, you know it's mine because you're asking me for the money, but you haven't got my name and address on there. You haven't got any of my details, financial details. So there's no details on there, but then you really, really know it's mine. That is exactly what they're saying, which is just ridiculous. But then you'll also get the things, well, we don't have to give you that because it's sensitive information, or it's commercially sensitive, or it's like private. It's a private debt sale, you know, between, you know, the bank and them, and all of these things. And all of that is just ridiculous. It doesn't really matter what they want to call it. They still have to supply you with all of the data. So they can't say that a deed of assignment hasn't got any of your data on. And remember, because we're talking about the law of property, this is what it actually does come under, right? Then any a loan is classed as property in UK law. It's the same thing when you're going for the Insolvency Act. What they'll do is when they're actually closing down and you're going bankrupt or whatever, they'll find out whatever you're owed, even if it's a company or you, that is an asset because you were owed. There's a debt. So they'll actually say, well, that's an asset coming in, and there's the actual money going out. So there's your like debts as well as your actual assets. So it's the same, and all debt is classed as property. That's why it comes under the Law of Property Act. That's why they use it, isn't it? So I mean, why can you have a notice of assignment under the Law of Property Act if it wasn't under the Law of Property Act? Which is what they try and like obfuscate. They try and muddy the waters. And what they've done in this case, it's a live case. We've actually just filed for it, and now we're having to change the paperwork. Well, I mean, we're saying we, I'm talking about the members are actually doing it all themselves, right? But, you know, it's like us as a group is we. And so that's how we're, you know, we work sharing knowledge and sharing experiences, what happened to this one. And so everybody shares what's happened to them. So they all learn as they're moving forward. That's really good within the group. It's a very positive group. We don't allow negativity. We don't allow, excuse me, negative language, negative talking. It's all about helping, right, mankind, and putting the information for everyone there, and everyone learns and moves forward together. So when they're trying to confuse it and say we haven't done anything wrong, you've got to close it and completely rebut their arguments again and move it back in line and show exactly what the actual breaches under GDPR were, and bring it back to this is not a breach or anything about or a claim against the Law of Property Act. It's a claim under GDPR. It's under GDPR, and you've breached our data under GDPR, and that's all it is. And you have to keep bringing it back to that, and don't allow them to make it a confusion, muddy the waters. And what they're actually doing, and you know, in the group, in the private group, we're actually showing you specifically what they did and what they said, which is it's actually going it's intentionally trying, let's not call it lying, but they're intentionally trying to confuse the court, which is in a lot of ways disrespecting the court. So if you can word it correctly, which we have, and we're putting it towards the actual court in the rebuttal, then, you know, the judges and the courts are not going to like that if they are saying that they're trying to purposely mislead the court. So that's how we're putting it across, that they are purposely trying to mislead the court by putting this in, trying to say, oh, it's got nothing to do with the Law and Property Act and it's all, you know, we haven't done anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. We're not saying that. All right. We are bringing it back to being on point and making sure that we're getting our points across completely incorrectly under the GDPR route, under the DPA route. And you can read it all online. Just go on and get onto the websites, all right, and use it, a mixture of that and GPT, and you'll be able to compare it and work it out and get a reasonable sort of like move forward for yourself with your SERs. Well, and the reason why I'm saying that is because like people try and say that no one else is allowed to use GDPR apart from them. No one's allowed to use an SER apart from them. I mean, these people are obviously, you know, like they have problems. You know, they need assistance in some kind of like way or another. But anyway, so you can use all of the legislation that is public domain for your benefit. And GDPR and DPA 2018, it tells you data protection is trying to protect your data. So all we're doing is using the tools that they provided, they created, probably for themselves to actually protect them from us, right? They want to keep their data private and not want us knowing anything about it, right? But we've actually learned how to read. Because we've learned how to read now, we can actually use those legislations against the nations that are abusing your data and they are abusing your rights. So that's what I've just wanted to do, a quick video and like let everyone know what's going on in the private group. Go and have a look in the description, have a look at the link, and then you can go and check out the private group, Checkmate the Matrix. And you know, the thing is that it's a good knowledge share for everybody to learn and be in a positive environment with like-minded people who are only looking at positivity. And that's what it's all about. Are we not supposed to be here helping each other as mankind and joining together as a force for good? But that's what we're doing in our group. And that's why we don't allow any negativity in there. We don't allow negative talk. We don't share any fear porn, like, you know, all the disasters that may or may not be going on inside the country or the world or anything else, right? It's all talking about positivity and how you can actually protect your rights, etc., etc. And that's what it's all about. So anyway, check it out, then go and have a look, because I've got to go and do the other video to put up in the private group, but that will have all of the relevant documents in there showing them exactly what has to be written to get this case corrected, put it back into line, what all of the actual relevant articles under GDPR are, under GDPR are, so that they can actually use them in their own cases and learn, and then share it with each other as well in the group. So, you know, the slide, we've got a slideshow. We're going to explain exactly step by step what to do. It's going to show how they filed. It's going to show what the actual defense came in from the DCA. Then it's going to show how the rebuttal to put it back in line to make sure that they can see it is a case about GDPR and not about debt or anything else. It's only about data. Even though it concerns a debt, we're actually claiming that they breached data. So that's where a lot of people get confused, right? It is a debt, but that's just like, you know, a kind of secondary thing, because they've actually breached the data. A corporation has breached the data because we asked for it, regards it with a debt or any other subject. All right. But anyway, so I just thought I would do a quick video, let people know what's going on. Go and check the group, go and have a look in the link in the description, and we will catch you all later. All right. See you in a bit.